Hello and welcome back here on the industry stage at Formnext 2023, day 2 of Formnext. And as you just heard in our panel discussion, we are tackling today the exciting topics of our partner region, Nordics. And we want to focus intensively on the topic of sustainability today. What I particularly like about this is that we're not only talking about potentials, because that's easy, but we're addressing active implementation. Equinor is one of the largest energy suppliers in the world. And they have put in their agenda to make a very active contribution to sustainability. And more important for us, additive manufacturing is one of the core technologies they are using. We are super pleased to have an expert on stage who not only steers the activities at Equinor, but also stimulates a constant dialogue with various initiatives. Look forward with me to the keynote on AM Mindset, Boundless Potential, presented by Panta from Equinor, project leader. Panta, I can't say your name. Please put it yourself. Enjoy. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My family name is Khanshaghi, and nobody pronounced it, so nothing on you. Very nice to be here. Oh. So I was walking through all this fascinating, cool stuff that we were producing here with the technology. But do you think what I think is even more interesting than the technology itself is how we are able to use it and how we are able to use that to change our mindset and the way that we are working? I'm coming from an energy industry, so what I want to share with you here today is the challenges that we face in our industry. There are 3 main challenges when it's come to the energy. The energy needs to be affordable, it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be available. So we have to make sure that we keep this balance of that our consumer be able to pay the reasonable price, and the energy be available for all individual business and industry when needed. And at the same time, make sure that it's sustainable, so we do the minimum harm to the environment. But is that possible in this volatile world? If we were living in more sustainable, more stable world, probably keeping this balance was much easier. But now, how we are able to keep this balance? And one more question is that what role manufacturing play in our industry? How it can help us to navigate through this balancing the energy? If you don't know, manufacturing is responsible for 31% of CO2 emission in the whole world. And this is even higher than what we do in energy industry. When I'm talking about emission, I'm talking about all 3 different scope of emission. And about manufacturing, it's gonna be part of our value chain emission, like our 3rd scope. So what I would like to discuss here is to look at different application that manufacturing has. But before I go further, after I talked about the problem that we have or the challenges we have in our industry, I would like to also to talk about the challenge that we have in the whole world. What you see in the background is the circularity of the world. And it is a timeline of that. I would like to know if you have any idea how much are we able to recycle the material that we are using? How much we were able, for example, 2018? You can bring your hand up or I can choose. Do you have any idea? Anybody? So in 2018, we were able to recycle 9.1% of the material that we were using. Do you think we get better or worse in 2020? Any guess? Better. How much? 5% better. Anybody else? 3%? Unfortunately, we get worse. So we went from 9.1 to 8.6. Do you think we get better now in 2023, or we are still getting worse? Same. Unfortunately, we get worse. So what does that mean? It means that from whatever we consume in the world, we are wasting more than 90% of that. And this trend actually is getting worse from 2018 to 2023. This is no surprise. You know, it's lots of population, growing population, many people come out of poverty, industrialization. So the consumption is quite big. So to have a balance, we need to also be able to recycle the material. If we go with such trend, we basically in 2050, what we need is 2 words to be responsible for our consumption. Do you know how much material we are using each year? I'm not talking about how much we are wasting. I'm talking about how much we are using. Just tell me a guess. Say a word, drop a word. 100? 100 what? 100 tons. It should be more. 100,000 tons? More. Million tons every year. More. Billions. Cool. We're getting close. Any more? We are using 100 billion tons every year. And we are wasting more than 90 billion tons every year. So this is the world's challenges going forward, and it's not getting better. It's just getting worse. But why I'm saying these things here? One thing that I would like to discuss here is that how additive manufacturing can be part of the solution, both for us as an industry energy, but also for the whole world when it comes to the consumption. There is one question that additive manufacturing can help us with, is that how are we able to go to net zero while we keep the security of supply and local sustainable green development? So this is basically a question I would like to look at. Are you guys familiar with digital inventory? Yes? Do you use it in your industry? Yes? No? Yeah. Very good. So basically, I tell this to the one that probably don't use digital inventory. We in Equinor have a very big physical inventory. The reason we have that is for the security. We have around 3 billion of material in that inventory, in physical inventory. And the reason is that we keep that for the security. If something goes wrong in some field, if we need to change parts or things like that, we have to have backup because of the scale of the production that we have. But when we talk about the 3D printing and additive manufacturing, normally people look at the physical part of it. So you walk around here, you see all the cool production. But what is important is the digital part and the business part of it. So anytime that you're able to 3D print anything, it means that this part has the capability of being digital as well. So what does that mean and how this can help us going forward? Just imagine that any things that we produce in the world, let's say that in our industry, in Equinor, anything that we buy, it has been produced massively because of the economy of a scale. And then it has been done in a country with the cheaper material, with the cheaper labor, probably more CO2 intense country. And then it has to be shipped when we want it, and then stay there in our physical inventory for us when we need it. And maybe sometimes we even don't need that, because that's just for the safety. So you just imagine from the beginning that when we are going to use the material with the mass production and going through the transition to the warehouse waiting, is lots of wasting, both material transition and space. But when it's come to digital inventory, what happened is that instead of we keep everything there, we can say that, okay, we can keep a digital file there. And that digital file, is the voice okay? do something about voice? Back, okay. So, where I was. Yeah, so when we are able to have this part in digital inventory rather than the physical, then it means that we are able to produce it when we want it. So it's kind of a response to the economy of demand rather than mass production. So this can be a means for detaching the growth of economy from using material and be more responsive to the economy of demand. But that's not the only thing about digital inventory. One thing is very interesting and important about digital inventory. In the previous slide, I show you lots of different players there. What is interesting here, all these players can, in that ecosystem, they don't have only one role. They have an interchangeable role. So, for example, Equinor, we are, you know us as an end user for all the production. But at the same time, we can be designer because we find out the solution for some of the things that we needed. We have some design. At the same time, we can be also a manufacturer because we have a capability of produce some of the things that we want. And the rest also can do the same thing. So instead of everybody just played one role, they can play multiple roles. So it can be like an interchangeable role. And then the other thing that you have to be mindful is that when we're talking about the innovation, it's not only innovation in technology, but we are talking about innovation in commercial, we're talking about innovation in even policy making, the bunch of it, of course, and technology as well. But the whole thing is that we be able to think differently. And how are we able to move from traditional model to more innovative operating model? So in the traditional model, normally we say that, okay, we're going to start with design, then we are going to produce something, and then we are able to sell that. And for this, you need to have quite a big investment upfront. You have to invest on different parts of the production, on marketing, everything. And when you produce something, then you have to wait until you're able to sell this. But if you're thinking about how we're able to change this kind of model, we can say that, okay, now we can design something, and right after, we're able to sell it. After we sold that design, someone else can produce it. So what can happen here is that we are basically, by using less capital, we can have much more player outside. So lots of SME can come to stage, and then they basically can do lots of the things in ecosystem. They can do like asset sharing. They don't need to have, for example, all the machinery that they needed. They don't need to have all the design by themselves. So they can actually be more innovative in what they are performing. The whole ecosystem can help each other. And what it can actually create is, less costly and less and more sustainable system when it's come to the operating model. So let's talk about digital supply network and additive manufacturing. How are we able to unlock the value in Equinor? So probably we are sharing lots of this together with other industry, but I can bring you some example from Equinor. When it's come to the cost reduction, of course, we are going to have less things in the stock. So I talked about physical inventory and these 3 billion euros that's sitting there. We are able to reduce that. I'm talking about the less lead time. So if we are able to produce what we want in the case of need, for example, when it's come to maintenance or something, that means a lot for an energy industry because of all the production based or waiting. And also for any replacement, we have to start a project. So we reduce this as well. When it's come to the sustainability, of course, this reduced the transportation. But one thing that I like to emphasize here is the circular economy. And circular economy is not just about the recycling material. Circular economy starts with design. When we are able to design something better with less material for the purpose that we need and more durable. of course. So from the beginning, we have to take that into the consideration. And of course, this material can be recyclable afterward. And when we go to the manufacturing and also maintenance, then what we can do is that, okay, we can do repair instead of replacing. We can replace part instead of the whole equipment. And by doing that, we can extend the lifetime. So we can omit lots of material waste that's come with the replacing. And at the end, we're also able to recycle, so what people knows as circular economy. The other thing is the security of supply. So this, I talked about the on-demand production. So when in the volatile world that we are living, this is very important that we make sure that we are able to produce what we want when we want, not long waiting time. And how are we able to do the risk management when it's come to the external supplier, when it's come to the vendors, logistic and transportation, and having a diverse supplier base. And then local value creation. Then again, by just assuming that when we have all this mass production, most of it is happening with very low probably skilled worker with big, huge factory, and it takes time, transportation, everything. If you move that from that situation to a local, like somewhere in Europe, with some skilled worker, better energy use, cleaner energy, you by itself change the way we're working. So I would like to talk about, since I started with energy, I would like to talk about the scale of value when it's come to Equinor. What you see here is Johan Castberg. This is a project that includes 3 oil fields, and we have a partnership with Vår Energi and Petoro. Equinor's on 50, Petoro 20, and Vår Energi 30% of that. This project is going to be, the lifetime of this project going to be 30 years. It's going to start as soon as next year. And the amount we're talking about is around 450 to 650 million of barrels of oil. So that's huge, what we're talking about. So every day, this field can produce around 190,000 barrels. Let's say if we have the dollar, the price for oil like $80 per barrel, that means something around $15 million per day. So for a week time, probably it's reached 200 something. So for us, when we say that we are reducing the lead time, we are talking about, you know, around 20 million per day. So it is very, very important. It is very, have a big effect on what we're doing. And here I would like to tell you a success story. What you see in this picture is a microfactory, mobile 3D printing that we got from FieldMade. This stayed in the Sturt, the yard that you see, the Johan Castberg is there, to sit there to help the production there, to serve the production where it's needed. And so far, there was like 3,200 parts has been produced there. We were able to get around tons of recycled material there. But this is just the start, and this is just one field we are talking about. The important thing is that what we could create there is innovative collaboration. What we can embrace there is a circular economy. And all of this is basically having a right mindset. In Johan Castberg, now at the moment, like 2,000 employees working. These people understand different way of working. They understand how they can solve problems differently with the new technology. So for us, this is not just about if we are able to make this 1 ton to 100 tons, which will happen very fast. This is about these people going to change the way that they think when it's come to find a solution for our production in oil and gas. So that was what I wanted to share with you, and I would like to leave you with the question of how additive manufacturing enable you in your business to solve the problem that you have or the dilemma that you see in the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanda. Fantastic presentation. Very inspiring, to be honest.
Thank you.
There's still some question remaining from my point of view. So you mentioned the usage, the 100 billion tons and the waste that we are producing. To what extent, what is a percentage AM is already today supporting this initiative, and what is the impact of AM today?
You know, AM do this from different industry. The only thing that I look here is, for example, additive manufacturing, how we use it in the energy industry.
Yeah.
But the important thing is not that what is the percentage today. The important thing is that to see what is this little thing can have a big wave. It is that by changing the way of we are working, so every day I find a better solution, it
Absolutely.
can affect later. And this is like like a virus that we were seeing that in the corona time. If you start this, then it can spread very, very fast as well.
You are very much addressing the AM mindset, which I really like, because it's really important that we start thinking AM-wise and not only trying to find any application that we can replace. I think it's important to have a strong collaboration. So yeah, you started endless initiatives in order to gather people, especially let's take the example of the spare parts on spot. So with whom you are cooperating as Equinor in order to get to the point to have spare parts, because you might need some experts in the tools you have there, right? Are they then able to use AM the way you need it?
Yes, so we actually have a team inside Equinor that they are able to figure out, okay, what solution is, for example, suitable for this problem that we have. What are the supplier out there who is capable of producing or designing what we want? And we have quite a big collaboration with very different suppliers, both in Norway and out of Norway. And sometimes we collaborate together, we find a solution together. Sometimes they are able to help us. But this is something that comes just from this ecosystem collaboration.
Yeah. If possible, can we get a little bit more concrete? Because I remember last year we were discussing with some energy suppliers as well from the oil industry. And I think what I found really fascinating was the aspect of you have a problem, let's say with a nozzle or something, a very small, tiny part, but that is hard to replace if you don't have it in stock. So you can print it on site. Is that already happening? And what is the typical part that is printed on site?
Yeah, so we actually have so many different examples, especially when it's come, for example, to Johan Castberg. And something very simple as like a holder of something can be, you know, a problem, because who is going to produce that? How we are going to get? Sometimes we actually do that inside house. Some of them already is in digital inventory, so the design is already there. So next time if something happens, we can go out there and print it. But this is some, you know, ongoing. So I cannot just say that, okay, we have 5 or 6 and we are going to have 100 in the future.
What I really like was the aspect of saying, okay, you design it probably centrally or wherever you sell it, and then it's going to be produced, not the other way around. What is missing in order to achieve that from your point of view? Is it only the AM mindset? Because there's, of course, a cost calculation, so this is why we have mass manufacturing. Is there a way, if you consider the sustainable part of it, is it already worth it going that step? Are there already business examples that you met where you say it's better to produce it locally instead of produce it mass-wise? Is there already some practical example?
But just have it in mind, it's not like when I said that we go from mass production to economy and demand. Maybe it's not optimal for all the cases.
Of course.
So what we actually looking as additive manufacturing is that something that complements this. And sometimes the solution when it's come to like a traditional way of doing that is not possible, or it's very costly or very timely. So what we actually looking at is that, okay, if we are going to get something in that period, what is the best solution that we can have. And normally, when we are looking at that, the sustainability part of it come as a bonus. So we are not like doing just for that, but because we are doing that, we are able to avoid lots of emission in a way.
Very good. But for marketing reason, you should highlight that for sure. Panta, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have your inspiring presentation. Thank you and good luck for initiative.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks,
bye-bye. Awesome. So as we heard during Panta's speech, the topic of sustainability in connection with additive manufacturing is extremely exciting and, more importantly, encompasses many factors and many possibilities. That's why we want to explore it in a little bit more depth. Dr. Jennifer Johns from the University of Bristol is Professor of Management, and her work focuses intensively on the topic of additive manufacturing. And before we hear, we will provide you with some highlights from the fair. And after that, I will see you right back here with Jennifer Johns. See you there.